Welcome back to the Chaos and Carry-Ons podcast with Stephanie
and Shelby.
Chaos and carry-ons, let's go. Disney dreams in tow, you know. Every flight and every ride. Join the journey, come inside.
In today's episode, we are circling back to Disney Cruise Line. We feel like we have already recorded this 1,000 times because we recorded one. It was like our second or third episode and it was horrible, so we deleted it. And then we did a cruise line Q&A. Well, we did a Q&A that had a lot of cruise line questions, but that was following the original cruise line episode. So right. I feel like all we've talked about is Disney Cruise Line, but I just have to keep reminding myself that is not reality. It hasn't been that much. It just feels like it to me. We had Stephanie put up a question box on Instagram and we had some questions. We also had questions like people had sent in after the cruise line episode. And really what a lot of people, we did not cover Disney's private islands as much as we could have. And that's the bulk of the questions were related to the islands. So that's what today's episode is.
Yes. So today you're getting the best part of a Disney cruise, in my opinion.
Oh, I totally agree. I don't know. It's one of the best, but it's up there.
Yes. So we're going to start with Castaway because we both have done that.
Yes. So I know we mentioned in one of the cruise line episodes that I have been on 8 cruises now, I believe. Mm-hmm. You've been on how many? Are you gold yet?
I think I've been on I want to say 3, but I think it might be 4. I can't remember.
Okay. So you're not gold yet, but you're close. So.
Yes.
I have been to Castaway on every single cruise that I've done except one, but we did a pandemic cruise. It was either 2020, 2020. I think it was 2021 because they stayed closed for a while. And I want to say they reopened in 21 and we went, but at that point, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the countries that they were going to were scared to let people in, rightfully so. I mean, I'll give them that. So one of the cruises we did went to Castaway twice, and that was my favorite itinerary ever. I love Castaway. So I'm very excited to talk about Castaway because I love it.
Yeah. I should have went back and listened to that episode to see exactly what we said about Castaway, but we can go over it again. The best part to me of Castaway is really just how pretty it is. That was the prettiest beach that I had been to at that time. I will say that. Spoiler alert, I do think that Lighthouse has a prettier beach, but we'll get into that later. But like I said, at that time, when the first time that I had ever seen Castaway, that was the most beautiful beach. I think we might have mentioned that there's a netting that goes around, what would you call that? Like the beach area, and it keeps out the wildlife. So it is a very family-friendly beach. That's what I have wrote down.
Yes.
So like what I love about Castaway, like my favorite thing about Castaway is that it is very family-friendly. Everything is very close together. When you get off of the ship, the tram is very close. Mm-hmm. You get on, they drop you right off at the family beach. The food that's included is right there. Mm-hmm. Shelby can talk about what her favorite thing about Castaway is.
I couldn't narrow it down to just one. I know this morning you text me and was like, be thinking of your favorite part of Castaway. And it's been a struggle. I'm not going to lie. So I love the convenience because unless you book an excursion, and you can book excursions on Castaway. They do parasailing and the banana boats and snorkeling and stingray. You can swim with the stingrays and, there are excursions to be booked there. But if you wanted to go on a cruise and not book any excursions, but still have a good time, you can absolutely do Castaway and not pay one single penny. And we don't, very rarely, unless we're snorkeling, we never spend money on Castaway aside from the gift shops, but that's a whole other story. But I mean, you can get off the ship. The beach is there. The food is included. There are the ice cream that's just like on the ship, the soft serve ice cream. You literally do not need a thing. There
No.
are, I mean, you take some beach and pool toys with you for if you have kids. But okay, so that's the route that I was going first, is like that you really don't have to spend money, and you're in the Bahamas.
Yes.
It feels so magical being there. Their characters are out there. I love that. I love that the kids club, if your kids are of age to be in kids club, they do activities and scavenger hunts across the island. They have lots and lots of activities where you do not have to pay a single dime. But pre-kid Shelby is in love with the adult-only side of the island. That would also be a draw to me. If you don't have kids, or if you have kids that are old enough to go to kids club where you can go to the adult-only side, the tram that Stephanie mentioned, it does drop you off at the family beach, but it also goes on further to the adult-only side. There is a separate restaurant just there, so you don't have to go back to the family side. If you want a vacation without kids, well, for starters, you probably shouldn't be on a Disney cruise to begin with. But but if you love Disney, if that's your jam, that is a draw. I loved the adult only side. To me, the beach was prettier and better over there than the family side, which is not really right in my opinion. But at that stage of life, I was fine with it. The hammocks, I love it. So that's where I'm at with Castaway.
It's funny to me that you're saying that adults shouldn't go on their cruise, because that was you and Jordan's bread and butter. What are you talking about?
That's what I said. If you love Disney and that's your thing, then that's great. You know, we love Disney. We went to Disney lots without kids. But now, you know, I'm saying like my brother and sister-in-law would be caught dead on a Disney cruise until they have kids, because that's just not their thing. And I get it. Like for some people, they don't want to go out to eat and hear screaming kids. And I get that. I mean, if you're not in that stage of life, you can't tune that out like people like us with small kids. I tune out. People will apologize for their kids screaming or listening to Blippi on YouTube or whatever. And I'm like, I honestly just ignored it. I have, you know, but I'm in that stage of life right now. Not everybody is.
I was glad that you talked about that, because I couldn't remember if we went over that the last time, but everyone that goes over to the adult side says it's way better. Now, I have not been over there because I always have a lot of children. But they always say that beach is the prettier side of the island. I also couldn't remember if we talked about how that they do a Run Disney. Didn't you do that once?
We did. And I actually thought about that when I was doing the spiel of free things you can do on the island. They have a Castaway 5K, and you actually get off the ship before everybody else, aside from cast members and employees. But they do. You run around the island. They have a whole 5K set up. Fun fact, I did that in May of, 2017. Me and Jordan were in our get skinny, get fit era. We were bound and determined to do this 5K. So we do it. I was miserable. It was so hot. I was sweating and I was so sick. And I couldn't figure out what the deal was. But after this cruise, 3 days later, guess what? I find out that I'm pregnant with Taylor. So yeah, it was fun. And we've never done it since. I don't know if I'll ever do it again just because of how hot it was. But really, we signed up so we could get off the ship first. But it was awesome. I mean, we still had a great time, and you get to see the island. We didn't run it. We jogged, walked, whatever. But it was fun. But yes, that is an option too, and it doesn't cost a thing to do it.
Like she said, you could not pay any money and you could have a great time. I did want to touch on the snorkeling, because you did mention that. And one of the things that people always mention to me is, how hard is the snorkeling? Do you have to be a super strong swimmer? Now, we have various strong swimmers in our group. I'm saying levels. We have some that are not strong at all, and then we have, my daughter was a competitive swimmer for years, so she is a very strong swimmer. And everybody enjoys the snorkeling that does it, I would say. Now, I don't know if you feel that way. It is, to me, hard for me, because I'm not a super strong swimmer. It's very cool. I'll say that.
It is very exhausting if you're not a regular swimmer. And let's be honest, castaway days are typically the last full day of your vacation. I think every single cruise that we've been on, castaway day has always been, if not the last, the day before the last. You have a lot of cruise food in your body, and then you try to snorkel and you feel like a beached whale. I'm just going to put it out there. But it is
true.
worth it. It is absolutely worth it. If you feel like you're going to die, just push through because it's beautiful. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned the net that like keeps the wildlife out. Let's mention like it keeps out shark, like the big scary wildlife. But there
Yes.
are small fish, sea turtles, stingrays.
Yes.
I mean, you see all of this when you're snorkeling out there, and they have, it looks like sunken ships and treasures and statues, which of course they place them there. It's really cute. You can find the characters. There's like a mini statue, Mickey, Daisy. I don't, they might have all the characters, like the Fab Five characters. But it's so awesome. And I'm so excited the next time we go to Castaway. Taylor can finally swim good enough now that I think we could do it with her. And I think she would love it.
There's also lifeguards. I want to put that out there.
Yes.
If you have ever thought about snorkeling and you're going to pick between Lighthouse or Castaway, I would pick Lighthouse to snorkel. I hear that the snorkeling is better at Lighthouse, but you will probably feel a lot safer because the water is a lot calmer there. I'll say that. So I think that we could just go ahead, probably, do you think, and talk about Lighthouse?
The only other thing that I was going to mention about Castaway is that they do have the family cabanas, and everybody knows by now that I love the cabanas, but I haven't been able to snag one yet on Castaway. But they have many of them on the family beach and the adult only beach. So that I'm just throwing that out there for anybody that might be interested. If you either have cruised enough that you can be platinum or pearl, you stand a good chance at getting a cabana. Or if you cruise concierge level, you have the first access to book anything. And if you can book anything, I would highly recommend a Disney cabana, period, no matter where it's at, is amazing. But that's on my bucket list, is to get a cabana on Castaway. So I just wanted, I think that's the last thing I wanted to say about Castaway.
What she's saying is if you book one, you have to invite her.
Pretty much.
You owe her this.
Yeah.
So Lighthouse Point was almost controversial. Would you say that?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't been yet, but by watching YouTube videos, I could agree with that because it seems like it's split down the middle. Some people love it, some people hate it.
It's very different from Castaway. I'm going to start off saying that. So the first obvious difference is that when you dock and you look out, you are thinking, are they insane? Are they serious? We are so far away. And there is not a tram and they want you to walk. Now, we did try to get one of those golf carts. I will say this. Let's do a disclaimer. If you have where you just can't walk, whatever it is, that you can get on a golf cart. But they were telling us that it was only my dad that could get on the golf cart and the rest of us could not. Now that's hit or miss, it seems like. Some people say they let them all on. Some people said it was just that person. You have to go down to the front desk and tell them, and then they tell you where to go that morning to get the golf cart. We just decided before that any of the rest of the party tried to get on the golf cart, me and Derek decided we're just going to walk it. The walk was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It looks a lot farther than it is. I don't remember. I told you we timed it. How long did I say it took us? I think it was like 0.7 miles that we clocked. And I want to say it was like 12 minutes. Does that sound right? Because I think it was. Like it went a lot faster than we thought it was going to. But anyways, once you get there, like to the end of this walkway, it's basically a tram station. Now they do have like little like water stations along the way, and it is in the sun. So the first thing that I'm going to say is bring a Stanley or some kind of water bottle that has ice water. Now, like I said, they will have the little stations, but that's just what I did, and it just worked out better. I would also be mindful of your shoes. Like at Castaway, you could just bring flip-flops, whatever. That was one thing that coming back, the sand like rubbed my feet. You know what I mean? Like against my flip-flops. So just be mindful of that. But anyways, once you get to the end, it's a tram stop. And then the tram ride, I timed that, and it was 8 minutes. So that is the controversial part of it, is that it takes a lot longer to get over to the beach than it does at Castaway, where it's kind of like you're getting on the tram and then boom, you're right there. The tram ride's not even that far.
No, and you don't even have to ride a tram at Castaway. You
No.
can walk it. And we do that more times than not. But at Lighthouse, is it optional or do you have to do the tram?
You have to do the tram. You cannot walk it. Yeah. So anyways, when you finally get over there to the beach, it is breathtakingly beautiful. I've never seen anything like it. The water at Castaway is very clear. You can see right through it. It's still clear, but it's very blue. It's like that Bahamas movie turquoise. You know what I'm talking about. It looks like you're in a movie. It is absolutely gorgeous. Now, there is no barrier there, so there is waves. Now, some people hate that. Some people love that. The kids, all the kids that we were with, loved it. So that's something to take into consideration. They also have a very large splash pad. Now, we said this in the previous episode that Castaway does have a splash pad, but it's nothing compared to the one that they have at Lighthouse.
No, it's a joke of a splash pad. I wouldn't even consider Castaways a splash pad. It's just like a little, like shoot up water from the ground.
Yes, this is like slides and almost like a playground in the water, and it's very close to the beach. So that's another thing that's some people love and some people hate, is that there's not a lot of chairs actually on the beach at Lighthouse. A lot of the chairs are up, like there's a set of stairs that you go down, and then there's some chairs down, like, close to the beach. But all the rest of the chairs are kind of up and off of the beach. So that makes it harder to, see the kids or get back to your stuff. But that splash pad is right behind those chairs. It's very close to the beach. The food area is also a little bit of a farther walk than it is at Castaway. But the food is completely different. So if you're feeling like, I don't want burgers and hot dogs, and I think that's what it is, chicken, right? At Castaway. Yeah, this was a lot different. I couldn't even tell you exactly what it was, but I just remember it was completely different food. Aside from, they still do have the same ice cream that everybody loves. And they had different flavors, so that was good. But overall, I couldn't pick just like saying, like, this one's way better than this one, because they both had different points. Now, overall, I still stand by that. I think that Castaway is more family friendly. Everyone else that was under the age of 18 preferred Lighthouse. They didn't care to walk, and they didn't care to ride the tram for 8 minutes. So I think it's really, if you're looking at it as the kids' perspective, they're not doing all this work, and they have more energy than we do. Like, they're not carrying all of their stuff. We're carrying all of it.
Right.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you want to make the kids happy, it's probably is going to be Lighthouse. If you want to make yourself happy and not have to do as much work, Castaway. Because I wanted to bring that up. Well, the first question that we got that we did not get to was, if you had to pick a cruise that was going to Lighthouse or Castaway, which one would you pick? And that was a very hard question for me. But that's how I'm going to say it, is I would pick it if you want it to be easier on yourself, Castaway. But if you like all of those things that I just named off, more waves, the splash pad, then I would say try Lighthouse.
I want to try Lighthouse, so it would be hard for me to choose an itinerary. I'm never going to be sad going to Castaway, ever, never. But I do want to try Lighthouse. We haven't done it yet. It just opened last year. Or was it last year or the year before?
No, it was last year.
Okay. I don't know. My timeline is off, but the thing is, it's still so new, and they have lots of kinks to be worked out. And I do think, even from the very first people that sailed to Lighthouse until you guys went several months later, it had already changed a lot. There were several things that I heard people complain about that were fixed by the time you went.
Yes.
So that's also why we haven't booked a cruise yet for Lighthouse, is I'm kind of just letting that settle down first and then go from there.
Yeah. It still smelled new. Like it smelled like a construction zone, which Derek said was kind of weird. Like when you're over in the tram area specifically, because that's where a lot of paint was. There was just that new house smell over there. So that was reminding you like, oh yeah, this is very new. There was no signs. So that was one of the hard things. Like no signs for this is where you go to the restroom. This is where you go to eat. This is where the shops are. So I'm sure it's different now than it was even then. Like she said, there was they were having a problem with flies around food, and I didn't see any flies, and they're just different little things that people were complaining about that I never saw. So I'm sure it's probably even different than when I went. But overall, it was beautiful island. I'll say that. Like I don't regret going. I would go back. I would do it a little bit differently because now I'm a little bit more prepared. I would wear different shoes. And one thing that I forgot to mention is that they have strollers and wagons when you first come off of the ship.
Yes, on both islands because Castaway has that too. Wagons.
And
did Lighthouse have wagons? Because I noticed that at
Yes.
Castaway this time.
Yes, they
Did you say
So
wagons? Did you say strollers and wagons?
Yes, I did.
In my mind, you said strollers and wheelchairs because they also have wheelchairs with those really big tires on them, like to go on the sand.
Yeah.
So in my mind,
Yeah.
that's what you said, not wagon. Sorry.
No, but let's also say that this is first come, first serve, and they do not have wheelchairs when you come off of Lighthouse. So if you need that, you're going to have to take the
golf cart.
tram. Or I'm sorry, the golf cart. Anyways, so get there early, but that's what I would do. I would ditch the stroller because we took a stroller, and I would just try to get there early enough to get one of those strollers. There was still wagons. I don't think there was any strollers left, but there still was wagons. And that's what I would have done. And like I said, I would have wore a little bit more comfortable shoes and probably put on my sun hat at the beginning because we got so sunburned because that pier is very windy. We were not feeling how much sun we were getting just in that small amount of time. I guess it's just because, well, one, it was in November, so we hadn't seen the sun in a few months. And just us walking across that bridge, like there and back.
Well, you're also in the Bahamas, and the Bahamas sun is different than here. I mean, you're closer to the equator. So the next question was, how many days for your first cruise? And I love this question. I don't know who asked this question, but I love this because this is a thing that I've been asked many times. And I was concerned myself on my first cruise. I was very prone to motion sickness at that point of my life. I'm not so much anymore. I don't know if that's something you grow out of or what. I don't know. But it doesn't bother me near like it did then. So we were going to book a 7-night cruise for our honeymoon. But Jordan was we both were afraid that I would be so sick because at that point I couldn't ride in a car unless I was driving. It was that bad. So we didn't, but our first anniversary, we decided to go on a Disney cruise and we booked a 4-night because it was longer than a 3-night, but it was enough to kind of test the waters and see. And so I started with a 4-night and I recommend that to everybody. If they've never been on a cruise, I would start with a 3 or 4-night because the 3-night you get off every single day. You're going somewhere, the ship is stopping, you're getting off, so you're not on the sea as much. The 4-night does have 1 day at sea, so that's a whole day of just sailing. And I will say being scared of going on a cruise because of motion sickness is totally understandable and relatable. But do not make it, in your mind, don't think of it as the ferry boat at Magic Kingdom or a small, tiny shrimp boat. Like, don't think of it that way because it does not feel like that. The only time I can really feel movement is if I'm looking out and seeing the water go by, or sometimes like at dinner because the restaurants on the cruises are down on lower levels. Sometimes at dinner you can feel it more. But it's not ever, it has never been so bad that I had to take any medication or do any, I've never done the patches. I've never taken anything and I've been fine every single time. So don't let that scare you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 4 nights is to me, the perfect first cruise.
It is. If you've already been on a cruise and you know, then I say go big or go home. 7 nights are our favorite itineraries. So, I mean, That if you know and you're not worried about sickness, 7-night, I love it. And there are several cruises that are 5 nights too, and that's like the perfect medium. So that's something to consider too. But because of the sickness side of it, I would definitely say start with 3 or 4 and don't go during hurricane season on the 3 or 4 nights. Go in the spring, summer, and you'll be fine.
So somebody asked, what should you bring on a cruise? I think that we went over that in the question and answers.
Well,
so
I didn't take that as that. I took it as what to bring off the ship to the islands when I read that question,
Yes.
but maybe that's not what they meant.
this other part of the question says things to bring, and it says how to prepare for the day with kids that are 2 and 8 years old. And then she says like food and towels and toys and et cetera, et cetera. Now this is going to be different if you're getting off at, let's say, what is it?
Nassau.
It's called Nassau. There you go. That's going to be different than if you're getting off on the islands. If you're getting off on the islands, you don't need anything.
No.
The towels are there. They have food, plenty of food. You could say that you could bring toys, but you could buy toys if you wanted.
You can, and that's what I was about to say, because we did not bring sand toys last time and we bought them. They do have Disney specific ones that are so cute, and you have this little carry-in bag that says Castaway or Lighthouse, whatever the island you're on. So it's like a souvenir too. But I would recommend bringing, if you have kids, so she said ages 2 to 8, I would definitely recommend pool toys, like beach toys for sure.
Yeah. I've never seen anybody have any like large inflatables. You can rent those tubes. I don't know if we said that when we were talking about Castaway. I didn't see anybody renting them at Lighthouse. Now let me say that. But at Castaway, you can rent like the circular tubes that you just kind of sit in.
So we've been on several where we got off. We have lots of cruises where when they stop in Mexico or St. Thomas or wherever, we stay on the ship and treat that as like a day at sea, because a lot of people get off and the ship is empty. So we have done days where we do go off, and Taylor has cruised since she was 2. And so with her, I usually bring Ziploc bags in my stuff. I think I mentioned that in the suitcase episode that we talked about what do we pack. I usually do Ziploc bags, and you can get Uncrustables from room service. I will take some of those. The little cereal packs at breakfast, I will grab some of those for her snacks. But as far as that, like she said, for Castaway, you need nothing except, I would say, sand toys and sunscreen. That's the 2 things I would recommend.
Yeah. Unless your kid's not going to eat like what I just went over, like a hot dog, hamburger, grilled steak. I don't think that they have like chicken fingers on Castaway. They don't, right?
No, they have like a roasted rotisserie chicken type thing. I don't know what it is.
Okay. That would be the only time that you would really need to bring something for them, because they even have chips and like bananas and apples and oranges and watermelon, like just fruit like that. So really, you could just walk off with nothing and you'd be good.
The towels, I know you mentioned, like, towels are everywhere at Castaway.
Yes.
But at the other islands, or wherever, I don't know why I say island, at the other stops, they usually are giving them out. But just remember to bring it back, because Castaway has drops for the towels. So you really don't even have to pack beach towels. Even if you're going to Mexico, you don't have to take it with you. You can get the ones from the ship.
Yeah. When you're on Lighthouse Point, you get your towels when you get off of the tram and you're coming onto the beach, and then there's a big return towels right there. We did take one of the towels back with us. I can't remember why. I think it was just to put over Mateo's head to keep the sun off of his head. But you really don't need to take towels if you're going to one of Disney's private island. They have plenty.
Yeah.
The last question was, how long would you expect to stay between getting on and off the ship? That's really going to depend, again, on if you're going to St. Thomas or the Virgin Islands. Don't they stop there? And what your excursion is that you've booked. Now, I think it does give you a time, right?
Yes.
So that you will know. Now, if you're getting off at Castaway or Lighthouse Point, before you ever leave, especially if you have a travel agent this is normally one of the things that they're going to tell you is what time that the ship is, what do they call it, disembark?
Mm-hmm.
What time you're getting off that day and what time you have to be back on that day. So for our Lighthouse Point day, it was 7 a.m. you could leave the ship and you had to be back on by 5. The Castaway was 8 a.m. and you had to be back on by, I want to say 6. I think it was because it was a little bit later. It's going to be, how long do you normally stay on the beach? That's what I would say. That's how long
very
I would
true.
expect to be off.
For Castaway specifically, and I say this because we just went 3 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, we went and we were some of the first ones off the ship. And you get like lots of families with small kids that are in the same stage of life. You see lots of people disembarking with kids, but the beach was so dead until maybe 11, 12, 1, because that's when all the adults and the people with older kids that actually get to sleep in on vacation, that's when they all roll off the ship. So we got the bulk of everything we wanted to do on the island done before those people woke up. And so we headed back because Castaway food is so-so, but the food, so the last ship we were on was the Disney Wish, and the taco bar, the taco cantina quick service type thing that they had was so good that Jordan and I couldn't stop thinking about it from the night before. So we went back to the ship while everybody else is on the island to have that for lunch instead of the food at Castaway. And then we rode the Aqua Mouse. You know, we enjoyed that because literally everybody gets off the ship. When it's one of Disney's islands, nobody's staying behind. So we rode the Aqua Mouse back to back to back. They wouldn't even make you get off the little raft thing to ride. They just let you keep going if you wanted to keep going. And we did that and then went back out on the island before so it really, that's a loaded question, and it depends, like you said, like how long do you spend on the beach? Because I go out after breakfast and sit there. I'll take my sandwich with me. I sit on the beach until time to go in and get ready for dinner. That's how we beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of how I am definitely at Castaway, but not so much at the other islands and stops unless there's something specific that we're wanting to do. We'll get off, walk around. We go buy a sticker for the cooler and an ornament for the tree. You know, walk around their town, maybe eat lunch, and then head back.
Yeah. So we always do the early dinner time, which is 5:45. So we had to get back on to get ready for dinner. So we got off, I think it was like 8:30, and we came back on at, I think it was 4:15. We started walking back. So we were out there all day long. For Lighthouse Point, I was thinking that we came back around 3, and we had gotten off at 7:30.
Yeah, that's a long day.
It was a very, very long day, but if you're beach people, then you're going to be out there. If your kids they just want an hour or two, then you probably just will be out there for an hour or two. But I don't really think that you have to prepare because Disney has everything there that you would really need. Does that make sense?
Definitely. And the activities and stuff still happen even on Castaway days on the ship. There's not near as many because the employees that work on the ship also get off and work on the islands. So there's not as many things to do on Disney Island days. But now let's say you're going to the Bahamas, they stop at Nassau and you don't want to get off. There are tons of things to do to keep you entertained. You do not have to get off. No. And that's a misconception for cruising, is that you feel like you've got to cram it all in and go all these places and see all the things. But you literally can just get off in the morning, do what we do, walk around their little town, go right back.
Yeah. I think that the best takeaway from like somebody asking, what itinerary would you choose if it was your first cruise? How long would you take it was your first cruise? Even if you do not choose us as your travel agents, let's say you're a random person and you have a friend that's a travel agent, just use a travel agent, really.
Yeah.
They usually don't steer you wrong. Like, they can tell you what is going to be best specifically for you, because not all cruises are the same, and not everybody wants the same thing from their cruise.
No, they don't. And I tell all of my clients, or most of my clients, like, I don't sugarcoat things, and I don't tell you what you want to hear just to make a sale. I'm not that I'm not that kind of person. And I mean, I'll be honest. If you want to ask my honest opinion, we've been on a lot of itineraries. We have 2 at the top of our bucket list that we have yet to do. We're knocking one out next year, and I am stalking the other one like crazy, waiting, because y'all are going to see me on a Disney cruise in Alaska one day. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm going. So my point being, though, we've been on several of the itineraries and seen several of the islands or the stops. So, I mean, I'll give you my opinion on any of them.
Yeah. Just use a travel agent. That's going to be our little plug. We don't normally plug it, but
No.
use a travel agent, and they can tell you from what you are saying that you want out of your cruise, what your best itinerary is going to be. And now I think that if you haven't already booked a cruise, you probably will if you've been on the fence, because I had so many bookings for cruises this year. I know I said that before, but I have way more cruises booked than I do Disney World trips.
I had several more this year than I typically do, but I still have a lot of Disney World. March was... I don't know what happened for March, but I had more people traveling in March collectively than I think I did last year, probably combined. And I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. I don't know what it was for March, but yeah, I mean, just talking about it makes me so excited for our next cruise. And I have one booked, but I'm constantly looking. I don't know, one day I'll be like, surprise, I was on a cruise last week.
Yes. Mateo still asks, I think I said this in the last cruise video, but he still asks every day, Mom, when are we going on a Disney cruise? They are spectacular. If you've never taken a Disney cruise and you are between this year, okay, we're going to go to Disney or we're going to take a Disney cruise, take a Disney cruise. If you've never done it, you have to experience it.
It's really funny because for the longest, I would say if I could go on 1 or 2 Disney cruises a year, I would go years between stepping foot in the parks. And so many people did not believe that. But then once you go on a Disney cruise, you understand. It's just a completely different vacation. There's much less planning involved in cruises. It's so much more laid back. You don't have to worry about making dinner reservations because it's already done for you. It's just, which Disney World is too if you use a travel agent. There's another plug.
Yeah.
But I mean, Disney Cruise is just so much more laid back and chill than Disney World, because if you go on a Disney World vacation, you have to have a vacation when you return to take a break. It's exhausting.
Yes.
And I do not feel that way when I come back from a Disney cruise. I feel so rested and relaxed and sad because I want to go back.
I'm ready to book my cruise after talking about it. It's like that one meme, spectacular, give me 14 more of them, or the TikTok. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yes. I think that's going to wrap it up, though. Are we going to tease what we're doing for the summer? Because we need people to be in on this.
Yeah, I think go ahead.
Okay. So we've decided that since you guys love the chit chats, I was looking at the algorithm today, and we're just going to give you what you want for the summertime. It makes it easier on us. Mm-hmm. The summer of chit chat, I guess, is what we're calling it, right?
I think so.
And so that's what you're going to get this summer. But what we're going to do is invite some of you to come on the podcast and chit chat with us. You don't have to travel. You could have been nowhere. If you just want to talk about whatever, maybe your Easter Bunny nightmare that you also had. I don't know. Just whatever you want to talk about. Shoot us a message. I am going to do a little probably question box where you can respond to it. Yes, I want to be on the podcast. I might not do it this week, probably when this airs.
Yeah. Well, even if you don't have social media, but you listen, I mean, if you listen and you don't have social media, then you're probably in contact with one or both of us. So text us. You don't have to go on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok.
No.
You can text us because I have several people in mind that if they don't volunteer, I'm just going to start roping people in. Because like you said, you don't have to travel. We can talk about anything. We can talk about your summer plans or what you like, what you usually do in the summer. I don't know. We can talk about favorite childhood
Yeah.
memories or whatever. I mean, it's just going to be the summer of chit chat because we're both very busy in the summer, and this is easier because there's less thinking on our part.
Now, I also want to say that we do have some people that listen that we have no idea who you are because some of you are from other countries. And if that is you and you don't have social media and you've just stumbled upon this from the keyword search, you can email. It's Chaos and Carry-Ons. There's no dashes, right?
No. Chaos and Carry-Ons podcast at gmail.com.
Yes. So send us a message there. We do check it every now and then.
I'm glad you do because I don't.
I do, and we actually had an email from somebody the other day. I'll have to tell you about that after we get after we get done. I'll have to tell you about
Wow,
that. But
we're so official now. We're getting emails.
Yeah, it was really funny because it was from like 3 months ago, and I was like, oh, like I did not know that we were getting emails. But anyways, if that is you and you're one of these random people that has been listening, we would love to talk to you and be like, how did you find us?
Yes,
what
that
drew
would
you to
be
this podcast?
awesome. And if y'all have any ideas of like what you want to hear about, any podcast, I mean, we have a list still of like running topics. As we think of things, we add to this list. But for the summer, we're just going to do low key, laid back, life's busy. We're just going to see. This is going to be our first summer doing the podcast. So this is kind of like a trial run. We're going to see how it goes.
Yes.
And if our listens tank, then we'll know that y'all really don't like the chit chats, and then we'll come back with something else.
We know that you do. But
Yeah.
anyways, that's going to wrap it up for today. So be on the lookout for the little question box or send us an email.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for the summer of chit chat.
It's going to be fun. We have some funny episodes planned up our sleeves, so you'll just have to stay tuned. And as always, thanks for listening and coming back every week. May your flights be on time and your luggage never lost. But if it's not, that's where the fun begins. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Pack your dreams, grab your bag. Adventures call at Zig and Zag. From castles tall to ocean waves, magic made for wanderers brave. Theme parks light up the night, starry-eyed in sheer delight. Board the ships, set sail and see endless tales and fantasy. Chaos and carry-ons, let's go. Disney dreams in tow, you know. Every flight and every ride, join the journey, come inside. From Mickey ears to Dole Whip tree, pixie dust beneath our feet. Through the lands and sea we roam, feel the wonder, feel at home. From rope drop to the fireworks show, lose yourself in the joyful glow. Cruising waters, feeling free, every twist's a memory. Chaos and carry-ons, let's go. Disney dreams in tow, you know. Every flight and every ride, join the journey, come inside. Inside.